Hello learners, welcome to the series of lectures on Python programming. In this video, we are going to learn about the new concept called as decorator. Okay, so in the previous video, we already learned about this closures. Okay, in Python. Okay, so that means we are going to create a function inside a function. Okay, so that's called as nested function. We can create, and also we can return the function from the outside. So for example, when I create a function inside a function, so we have the inner function, and also we have the inner function increment, and also the outer function counter, right? So now we can also do some operations like that. This outer function will return the entire inner function. Okay, so here we return the same thing, right? So we created one inner function, say increment value, increment. So this counter function will going to return that inner function. Okay, right. When we proceed with the say calling, so when I call this outer function, say counter, actually it's going to return the inner function, and that will be stored in counter one. So when I store it is because when it this counter function will return a function. That's why the counter one is also becomes a function, which is similar to your increment. Right. So when I print counter one, counter again, counter one, two times, now the output is going to change. Right. So when I call this 18th line, so it is going to return this increment function. In the increment function, we have count plus is equal to one. That means each time you will call that counter this increment function, the count is going to increment. Right. So that means as we assign to this counter one, so it becomes the same function as increment. Now, instead of calling the increment function, I'm going to call the counter one function so that will give the result. Okay, just will check the result. Okay, right. So I'll get 1 and 2 answer. So you can call one more time also. Okay, so I'll call now. It should be output should be 3. Right. So just will recheck that. Okay, so you'll get the 1, 2, and 3. Right. So you'll get the incremented value each time. Right. So now this is the example of a closure. Now we are going to learn about the new concept based on the closure that is called as decorators. Okay. So decorators. So I already wrote some definitions here. Okay. So decorators are used to modify the behavior of a function or a class. Okay. So for example, here we are using functions. We'll consider on the focus on the functions, right? So used to modify the behavior of a function. Okay, so we'll see that in the last, so that how this going to change the behavior, right? So what actually a decorator? So function are taken as argument. Okay, in decorator, the function are taken as an argument. So in the normal cases, say, okay, here we don't have any argument, right? So in the normal cases, what we are going to pass, okay, as an argument, it may be an integer value, string value, right? So this it may be a list, or okay, it may be a dictionary, anything we are going to pass. But in Python, we can pass a function to the another function as an argument. Okay, so that's the actual concept in the decorators, right? So you can pass a function. Okay, so the function are taken as a argument into another function, and then it is called inside the wrapped function. Okay, so and also we can say that Python decorator is a function that takes one function as an argument and returns another function by modifying the that particular value or some anything. Okay, anything. So we're going to modify that function inside that, and you have to return that entire modified function. Okay, we'll see that how that actually work, right? So in this case, we created a normal closure without any argument. So I'll make one argument to this counter function, say fun efnc. Okay, so just I wrote this because so we are going to pass one function here. Okay, right. So I'll make this count is equal to 0 as it is. Okay, so now what I have to do? So in the previous case, now all the time this when I call this counter one, so it's going to create, or I can say incremented by 1. Okay, so now I'll create a new, just I'll comment this is not required. Okay, So now I'm going to create one more function. Okay, say define. Okay, so I'll increment by 10. Okay, increment by 10. Okay, this is one function. We're going to return 10 value. Okay, so we're going to return the 10 line, right? Return 10. Just I'll say return 10. Okay. Now after that, okay, so now what I have to do? So I have to pass this function, okay, so to this as an argument, entire function as an argument to this counter function. Okay, so whenever I call that counter function, now it should increment the value by 10 for that count. Okay, so just as write count plus is equal to, so initially I'll make it as 0. Okay, so I'll call this function open and close. Okay, so that means I'm taking an argument for this counter function as a one more function, and I need to call inside this count plus is equal to function. Okay, right. So now again the counter function will return the inner function, and I'm going to check. Right. So the first definition is function are taken as an argument into the another function. So we already did that. So here we created a new function and passed that function. Just we'll call that and we'll check that. Okay, so I'll create count 10, 1. Okay, is equal to, I'll call the function counter function. Okay, and I have to pass the value here. So actually this counter function will take one function. I'll pass increment by 10. Okay, I have to pass the increment. So please observe that there is no open and close parenthesis. That means I'm not calling the function. I'm going to pass the function. Okay, right. So now I can say print count 10. Open and close. Open and close. Okay, just we'll see what is the result we'll get. Okay, so I'll get the value 10. Right, so I'll get the value 10. So I'll call one more time and one more time also. Right, so now I run the code. So we'll get 10, 20, and 30. Right, so as you observe there, we got the correct result. Now, what actually happening here in this case? Right. Okay. So we'll see that again. We'll come back to the definition here. So decorators are used to modify the behavior of a function. Okay, modify the behavior of a particular function. So in the previous case, we have the increment function, which is going to increment by 1. Okay, so I need some say different behavior that should takes place inside this increment function. So I'll add it or I'll created a new function. So whatever I need. Okay, so I need here increment by 10. So I can use any logic inside this. Okay, so when I pass to that particular say outer function, so this counter function, now I can call this function wherever I need inside this counter function. Okay, wherever it's called, it will go to return that value 10. Okay, so we're going to change that count value, okay, based on the increment by 10, okay, this function. Okay, so that we're going to change or get the answer. Okay, this 10, 20, and 30. So actually, we are going to change in the behavior of a function, okay, by passing another function. Okay, right. So now this is the one example of a decorator. So now what we did here, so instead of passing this function, we wrote this particular code, right? So count 10, counter of increment by 10. That means, so each time I have to call the same function, right? So I have to repeatedly say the same function. So instead of doing this particular line, say, let's say this particular line, okay, I'll just comment out all the thing and I can pass directly, okay, as decorator. So you can write at the rate symbol. Then I have to mention for which function I'm going to pass this increment by 10, okay, function, right? So I'll write counter, okay, so at counter increment by 10. Okay, now this symbol represent that I'm going to pass this entire function as an argument to the this counter function. Okay, so which function you have to pass the value, so you have to write here with along with the at the rate. Okay, now if I run the code, we should get the answer 10. Okay, so because we don't have any print statement inside this, so I won't get any result here. Okay, just I'll add one print statement inside this print count, just to identify it's running properly or not. Okay, right. So now I'll run again. Okay, still I'm not getting any result because we have the return statement here. I'll remove that. So just print the value, just I change the this function. So just I'm use the one print statement. I'm going to call the function and I'm going to use the print statement so that the values are updated properly. Okay, after that I can return the value to return that counter value. Okay, so in that case we'll get the proper answer then. Okay. Okay. So now actually this decorator, so we can use, okay, whenever we need to pass and function as argument to another function. Okay. So these decorators are mainly used to change the behavior of a function, or I can say wrapped function inside the closure. Okay. Right. So that's the main advantage of this decorator. Okay. Right. So hope this video is understood for you. Okay. For more videos, please subscribe to our channel.